Today marks 22 years since the release of Remember11, The Age of Infinity, the third installment in Kindle Imagine Develops Infinity series. And after all this time, has the Age of Infinity aged well? My answer is a firm and resounding yes. All this time later, Remember11 stands as one of the most ambitious visual novels ever made. It is what I would consider to be very comfortably the best of the Infinity trilogy, positioning itself as the anti-Ever-17. In part because of this, I would strongly recommend that people go through both Never7 and Ever-17 prior to Remember11, Ever-17 especially so. I often break down my reviews into two distinct sections, what I liked and what I didn't like. But frankly speaking, there wasn't much that I didn't like about Remember11, so I will instead be conducting this review theme by theme. First up, I want to go over the game's plot and narrative design. For those of you not familiar with Remember11, it follows dual protagonists Fuyukawa Kokoro and Yukido Satoru as they become involved in a phenomenon whereby they repeatedly switch bodies. On one hand, Kokoro's body is trapped in an isolated log cabin on a snowy mountain with several other survivors of a plane crash, and on the other hand, Satoru's body is stuck in this psychiatric facility for criminals known as Sphere. All the while, Satoru is seemingly experiencing tremendous amnesia, unable to remember a great deal of his own past, and also unaware of how and why he ended up at Sphere in the first place. Can they uncover the truth behind the series of events? And can they escape from where they are? And why is it that the character Uni is mysteriously present both on the mountain and in Sphere? That is the premise of Remember11. From the get-go, I found the game to be extremely captivating, by far the best paced and most engaging of the Infinity series installments. In terms of length, it's about as long as Never7 and a fair bit shorter than Ever-17. For most readers, it should take about 15 to 20 hours or so to finish, which for me personally is the perfect length for a visual novel. Not too long and not too short. From a tonal standpoint, unlike previous Infinity entries, this game is pure sci-fi and mystery. The romance elements from prior titles are completely gone, so you're not dating a different girl in each route. In Remember11, there are just two routes we play sequentially. First, the Kokoro route, which follows the story from the perspective of Kokoro's consciousness, and then the Satoru route, which follows his. Along the way, there are a myriad of different choices, which can potentially lead you into one of 33 different bad endings. The design is super intuitive, and for once, you don't need a guide. For those of you who have played SciDV, Anonymous Code's narrative design is very reminiscent of Remember11's. They're both linear with many different bad endings that have significant implications on one's understanding of the series. And in their own ways, they both act as culmination titles for their respective series. So if you like Anonymous Code, I think you'll like Remember11 as well. But speaking of how it acts as a culmination title, let's discuss themes. Remember11 builds upon a lot of core ideas established from Never7 and Ever-17. The biggest of them all has to do with this idea of where the self is, something explored considerably in Ever-17 especially. In Remember11, this question of where is self literally becomes the entire core of the story. But the way in which it ends up exploring that question is what I would describe as almost antithetical to how Ever-17 does so. In a lot of ways, Remember11 is a thematic anti-Ever-17. So seeing the progression of these thematic ideas from Never7 to Ever-17 to Remember11 is nothing short of incredible. With this theme of the self, another interesting aspect about the game is the way it handles its characters. Remember11 models its cast after Jungian archetypes, and by the end of the story, I'd say every character still ends up fitting that exact archetype. Not to the point that they're all static and undeveloped, but in the sense that a lot of their character arcs are about self-acceptance. I really admire that about this game. Speaking of the cast though, I mentioned earlier that Remember11 abandoned that traditional Galgay harem-like structure for a better balance of male and female cast members. For me personally, I much prefer this. I think Remember11 losing the dating elements makes the cast feel far more grounded and believable. And I've gotta say, Remember11 not only has what I see as the best cast in the Infinity series, but also one of the best casts I've come across in any visual novel, which is very impressive for a game of its length. Both the protagonists, Kokoro and Satoru, are standout favorites of mine. They're absolutely incredible to follow in both halves of the story, and the side cast is nothing to scoff at either. From Yuni to Yomogi to Kari, I really don't think there was a single character in this game that I didn't like. Beyond the cast, let's also talk about the art and music. I guess every installment in the Infinity series, and really most popular visual novels, have strong art anyways, but what stands out to me within Remember11 is the game's production values. Especially for 2004 standards, it has incredible visual effects and animations in-game, and I think you can really feel there's a big jump in visual presentation quality from Ever 17 to Remember11. Visually, the game looks really good. As for the music, I praise Takeshi Abo all the time, but I think Remember11 might have one of the best overall soundtracks from his entire career, and I do not say that lightly. The soundtrack is outstandingly impressive, and in my opinion, a significant step up from Ever 17's, which was already quite good. The last aspect of the game that I wanted to cover was its explicitness. Now, Remember11 is a game that reminds me a lot of Umineko When They Cry, and, as I said earlier, Anonymous Code. I know it's a little weird for me to say it that way considering both these games came after Remember11, but if you're familiar with Umineko, you know that that is a game that isn't very explicit in giving out its answers. Unless you go and read the manga version for yourself to get the answers, you have to put a lot of the mystery together yourself. Remember11 in some ways is quite similar. The answers to the mysteries are there, but you have to piece it together yourself. You have to read between the lines, go through some supplementary material, and also things like the tips. Trust me, Remember11 is a game you want to read the tips for. Now, I think there were a lot of people out there, especially around the time of the game's release, who were a bit disappointed by the game's lack of clear and explicit answers. And to an extent, I get it. If it weren't for the Remember11 Explained website, there's several layers to the story that I just would not have gotten on my own. Mad props to the creator of that website. It was crazy helpful. But at times, I wonder if Remember11 should have been more explicit about the answers in-game. On one hand, I think it would have made the game more appealing to the masses. But on the other hand, I think the amount of truth to Remember11, which is buried within clues, subtext, and other means, is part of its beauty and what makes it special. So in the grand scheme of things, has Remember11 aged well? Absolutely. The game is so ambitious and well executed that it would be ludicrous for me to say otherwise. Now, there are a good number of people who complained that the ending of the game is abrupt and not satisfying. But I found myself in complete awe after finishing it. It's designed the way it is on purpose, even if it is the result of a compromise between the writers due to time constraints. I feel the game, as it stands right now, is finished. It has a strong thematic core and an ending that very much fits it. And today, I can comfortably say that it stands as one of the most thought-provoking visual novels ever made. Scenario writer Kotaro Uchikoshi mentioned in an interview earlier that if Remember11 were to ever be re-released, he or director Takumi Nakazawa would have to make some story changes. I have significant reservations about this idea, since I feel it would gut the artistic core of the game just to make it more appealing to the general audience. It would seemingly deprive Remember11 of what I would call a very fitting ending. But whatever the case may be, I do expect Mages to re-release Remember11 in some form. I don't think they would have delisted its PC port from online platforms like DMM if they weren't planning on doing so. In any case, if you haven't read Remember11 yet, I'd strongly recommend giving it a go. It's truly a game that will stick with you for infinity. If you have read Remember11, please be sure to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. With that in mind, Bossman out. This story has not finished yet. Truth is not revealed, and it circulates through an incident. It is an infinity loop.